Hey, Arise family. So today I want to talk about Judges. So what you thought about Judges, y'all? Wasn't it a hot mess of a book? Yeah. Chapter 19, I would say, was the highlight of Judges for me. Like, it's the most memorable. I will not forget. I won't even be able to tell you exactly where to find that story in chapter 19. Dismembering bodies and sending them out as mail, they got my attention. Okay. So Judges was a very interesting book. It was filled with a lot of compromise. And so today, that's part of what I want to talk about, is that when you compromise with sin, all right, we see it right from the beginning, right from the start. As soon as we enter in, the compromise begins. And they begin to compromise and allow the people that they're supposed to overtake and destroy become slaves to them, and then they become slaves to them. But what it really represented was them compromising with sin, and then sin basically took over and would make them a slave to sin. All right, so I want to get more into today the cost of disobedience, because that's all what this began with. It began with compromise, but it was disobedience. The Lord gave them a word, told them what to do. They compromised, which means that they were disobedient. So in Judges 1, verses 27 to 28, it says, "You must not make a covenant with the people of this land, yet you have disobeyed me. Why have you done this?" They continue to disobey the Lord, continue to make covenants with these people, continue to compromise over and over again. And what we have learned through this people is that there is a high price to pay for partial obedience. God had given Israel specific instructions, and those instructions would lead him into victory, breakthrough, and peace. But in Judges 1 and 2, we see a completely different outcome because they were disobedient. They were partially obedient, which is disobedient. And the Lord is wanting us to pick up on that message and bring it into our own life. Like I continue to tell you guys, it's great to read the Word of God, but what He's asking us to do is not just read it, but be able to apply that to our life. Look at these people's mistake and cop game. Okay, I said cop game. All right. You need to be able to look at what they've done so you don't have to repeat the same cycle. Okay? So we see again in Judges 1 and 2 a different outcome, because they didn't fully obey. And today, some of us are stuck in cycles, not because God failed us or He didn't speak. It's because we kind of sort of listen. We partially listen. We did somewhat of what He said, but we didn't do exactly what He said. And so when you don't do exactly what Lord says, you don't see exactly what He says you're going to see as the outcome. All right? So I'm going to go back a little bit and talk about Joshua. In the book of Joshua, we continue to see the Lord give Joshua instructions. He said, basically, you do this and you'll see this. And when they didn't obey, they didn't see it, right? It's the same with us, you guys. When the Lord gives us a directive, He gives us directions, instructions, tell us what to do. We set out, we do them, we're going to see the outcome. But if we set out and we kind of sort of do it, then we're going to kind of sort of see the outcome. All right? So God's instructions are clear. They are not convenient. We have to obey what it is that the Lord is telling us to do concerning our life. He told them to drive out every inhabitant of the land, not to make treaties, not to get comfortable, and not to compromise. But in Judges 1:27 through 28, it says, "At that time, Manasseh failed to take possessions. The Canaanites were determined to stay. When Israel became stronger, they forced the Canaanites into labor, but never drove them out completely." So they looked strong on the outside, but disobedience was inside of them. They allowed what they saw with their eyes as an opportunity. Oh, well, we'll just make them our slaves. Wouldn't that be a lot easier? But that's not what God told them to do. That was compromising with sin. The Lord understood that as long as the Canaanites remained, that the Canaanites would actually be an influence on His people and be what puts His people back into sin. And the Lord was right. They didn't eliminate the Canaanites, and they honestly became just like them. Remember the tribe of Benjamin, the Benjamites? They became just like the Canaanites. So when you begin to compromise with sin, you start looking like the sin, acting like the sin. And before you know it, the sin has completely taken over you. And now the sin is the one that's leading you. So there's many times in our life the Lord has also told us to cut some things off. And there's a reason why he tells us to cut things off. It could be people, places, situations, whatever it may be in your life. But when the Lord tells you no more of this, there's a reason. He's leading you on a different path. And as long as you continue to entertain those things, you're not going to be able to walk into the things that God has for you. All right? So partial obedience is still disobedience. And God doesn't reward the 90%. He needs us to be 100% in with his plan. And when we refuse to surrender that last 10% to him, we see what happens in Judges. We see compromise over and over again. They obeyed the word that the Lord gave them partially, kind of, sort of, all right? In Judges chapter 2, verse 2, is God's confronting them. He says, "Yet you have disobeyed me. Why have you done this?" See, he's asking the why, because what you have to understand is whenever you're fully obedient to God, baby, it's going to cost you. In real life, it's going to cost you relationships, habits. It's going to take you up out of your comfort zone, and your personal desires, well, those are going to get put on the back burner to follow God and have full obedience. They didn't want to follow God and have full obedience. They didn't want to do the work. You got to put in the work, okay? But what it is that you don't kill, you don't destroy. When the Lord tells you that you must kill and destroy certain habits, certain things that are in your life, you must end. Those things come back to kill you. And a great example of that was in the book of Judges was Samson and Delilah. See, Samson wanted what was comfortable. He wanted to lay on Delilah's lap. He wanted to enjoy her beauty, whatever comfort he found in her that was found in his eyes pleasurable to him, right? Pleasurable things is what he found inside of Delilah. But it was sinful. And we see what happens with Samson in the book of Judges. The same thing that he was so driven to, the sin that he was so emerged with, is the same thing that ended his life. The next point I want to make to you guys is that what you tolerate will eventually rule over you. They thought they could coexist with the very thing that God told them to conquer. But what we tolerate eventually influences our thinking, our identity, and also our authority. And we see that with these people. They tolerated the Canaanites, but the Canaanites ended up ruling over and influencing their thinking, ruling over and influencing their identity, and destroying their authority, okay? So in reflection, okay, I want you to reflect back on the book of Judges and reflecting on your own life. Is there something that the Lord has told you to let go, release, destroy utterly, and you are still tolerating it? You're still allowing it to live around you or amongst you. I want you not only to think about what that could be, but also sit with the Lord and ask him how to remove that up out of your life. For many of you, there are things that are holding you back from God's best because you kind of sort of did what it is that the Lord has told you to do. And he's telling you he needs full obedience and not partial obedience. I hope you come back with us and let's study the book of Ruth. It's going to be coming soon. I've enjoyed these studies with you guys, and I look forward to studying the rest of the Bible with you. Bye, y'all.